Zach Martin. This is Designing for Music. What a great series this is, where we go over art covers, album artwork, and sleeves, and eventually posters. And we talk about the music and we talk about the thought process. And I would assume that if you're a rock and roller out there like Patrick, you'll gather some information over what we talk about here on this marvelous show. And we show you the pictures that go along with it. Now, without further ado, let's get to these albums. We're starting off with the Velvet Underground and Nico.
Yeah, I want to start off by saying, first of all, this is the last of the 10 interview series, which we've covered around 50 album covers, 145 covers, and 20 special packaging pieces. And so we'll start off, like Zach was saying, with the first one, which is the famous Andy Warhol cover, which was produced. This album was produced by Andy Warhol, which is very interesting because the front has his name, not the group name, and he produced it obviously to the banana artwork. And it's like this is the back, and it opens up. Not much of a design, but the front cover is the knockout. You know, the front cover is the drawing attraction, and that was done on Verve Records, and it's 1967. And A.C. Lehman was the art director on this project. And that's it for this one. Anybody want to?
Don't you, Spencer? You have to. First of all, that was an Andy Warhol print,
right?
And the earlier copies of that album, invited people to peel slowly and see. Right? Wasn't that the one?
Yeah, I mean, Judith and I worked with Sylvia Reed and a group called Smavision on a box set. The Velvet box set.
About this particular one.
Yeah, let me tie it in, Judith. So that box set was called Peel Slowly and See, that you're talking about. Exactly. So when you got the box set, as you're talking about, the banana peeled off, and you're left with like an orange banana underneath.
It was a black banana underneath it.
Yeah, this cover doesn't have that, but the original cover does do that. There's a banana peeled off.
The original one.
Yeah. But I wanted to tie the box set with this because they go together, really.
I think this was probably a beginning of things like, alternative music.
Yeah, yeah.
I know there's some collections out there too where, and I don't know the person's name, but there's a story that had gone around a couple of years ago about a collector who has, thousands of copies of this record. And just buying it over and over again, because the original bananas, if you unpeel them, they couldn't go back on the album too. So if you're a collector, like the original pressing of the unpeeled banana is the most coveted. And then you have, some that might have been partially peeled where someone took a peek underneath, but you can't put it back. And then there's some where the banana is entirely peeled off. And there's a whole sort of collection world out there, depending on the state of the cover as to, what kind of version of the album you have.
Right. And also the original, when they first made this, was they had to, there was a special machine that they had to make to manufacture that cover. And I think, I'm not sure the numbers that were printed, but people thought anything that was connected to Andy Warhol's name would, they'd ultimately be worth a great deal of money. I don't know. It may be true today to collectors. I don't know if any of us know the value of the original cover. Do we know the value, Spencer?
I have no idea. But like you're talking about, and Patrick's talking about, I would imagine the first cover that the banana peel off is worth a lot of money in mint condition, obviously. We're talking about collectibles. So that's the story on this one. Let's go to number 2. So number 2 is the famous group Chicago.
Hello.
And this is 17. And let's see here. We have the date here. This is famous. John Berg and Nick Fasciano designed the logo, which is very famous. And 1984, Warner Brothers Records. This is 17. Now, I wanted to bring in, and the back it's like wrapping. It looks like wrapping paper. But I wanted to bring in also the original album, a part of the series, which I think is fantastic. 1975 CBS Records, Chicago. Look at the front and back. It works together. These guys are painting on the wall. They're falling off. The logo's left. This is a great cover. But they did a whole series on this with Chicago. They have a Chicago logo in Boston, a chocolate bar, one of them. Went along in a whole series. Nick Fasciano, of course, did the logo with John Berg, a famous art director. So this is a very classic album. Number 3, The Ramones, Rocket to Russia, photographed by Danny Fields on the front cover. Artwork, John Holmstrom on the back cover. Very, very classic album, almost reminiscent of the first.
Also, you're forgetting John Gillespie, Spencer.
Well, John Gillespie, yeah, he's the art director that I work with on so many covers. And also, this cover is interesting because it's almost like the first cover with the white type that Roberta Bailey shot them against the wall. Very similar shots. So that's interesting. This was in 1977, Sire Records. A very famous album cover. Very famous.
And I like the use of the pink and the black. I've always liked that color combination. John Holmstrom is the guy that was involved in this, right?
Yeah, and John worked on Road to Ruin, the artwork on my famous Road to Ruin cover that I designed. And
does John also have anything to do with Punk Rock Magazine? And there's another one about. Yeah. There's 2 of them. What's the second one?
Well, Punk Magazine, he was a foundation member with Legs McNeil. And Roberta Bailey was encased as a photographer with that magazine. Very famous.
And then there's a Kill Me Now. Is the other one?
Legs McNeil. Legs McNeil did a book called Kill Me Now. Please Kill Me. I'm sorry. Please Kill Me. Very famous book.
Well, guys, just so you know, there's that site. And we were mentioned because of a Lou Reed thing that we did last week. So somehow it got into the.
Really?
I've never. Yeah, it's an honor to be mentioned in anything that has to do with punk rock.
I worked, I was hired by Sire to do many of the famous album covers. And Seymour Stein signed them. He actually signed them with Talking Heads at the same time as CBGB's. It's a great story. He wanted to see the Ramones, and he heard Talking Heads, and he ended up signing both groups. But the story with Seymour was he really fought Warner Brothers. Warner Brothers fought Seymour tooth and nail. They never understood these groups that Seymour signed, like the Ramones. And you're right, in the beginning career, when they started, the sale wasn't at all. They had no sale at all. It just progressed for years until they built up a sale thing and marketed. And like you're saying, they toured major for many years. So that built up their whole name. And of course, Rock and Roll Hall of Fame now and blah, 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 Very famous.
I think we need to give credit to Johnny Ramone as well, Spencer, because he also worked on that illustration with John Holmstrom.
That's it. I didn't know that. Tell you the truth.
Yeah.
I always think John Holmes. Well,
no,
that's interesting.
He worked. They did it together.
Very good. That's good information.
And look at on the rocket, you see one of those traditional Ramones logos that usually I'll see in hats and maybe shirts, and I think another album cover. That presidential seal of the Ramones.
Hey, by the way, Danny Fields, who did this photograph, is a very good photographer. He did the back photo on Road to Ruin, and he has an amazing book on the Ramones that I have, a limited edition of just about all the photographs with the Ramones. A very incredible photographer who shot the front cover here. People should know that, Danny Fields, who also managed the Ramones. So you should know.
Right. Now, I'd like to ask you a question about that typography on the Ramones album. The Ramones is big, and it's probably about 20 point, right? And then, and then the Rocket to Russia is probably about 8 to 10 point. But what I'm asking you, and I can't really tell, are those 2 different types? In other words, 2 different.
No, this is like a spin-off. I did that with, by the way, Ramones End of the Century. I did the same thing. The Ramones name is big. The title is small below it. Similar face. This is the same thing. It's the same.
Yeah, you can tell. Zach, if you look at the S, the small S, and the S at the end of Ramones, it's got that. It's got the same.
All right. Okay. Great.
Character.
Yeah,
you can see it now.
Yeah.
Yeah, but you see, the more I do these episodes with you guys, the more questions I have and the more things I notice that just would normally, I guess I don't want to say I took it for granted, but I didn't really put much thought into it.
So the next one is Pretenders 2. I got it for the photograph. This is it. Knockout. No type on the front. Great photograph of the group. Let's see. What's the information on this? Let's see. We have photo by Gavin Cochran, Sire Records, 1981. This is a great album cover. I just love the whole setup, the style, the photograph. You know.
Yeah, the original. The original Pretenders, because two of those guys died.
What a great band. What's on the back of that album, Spencer?
Well, the back is nothing. It's a photograph of the group on stage and a listing. It's not really anything to talk about.
I like that. Let's
nice photograph though.
I want to see some of the tracks on there. Oh, Message of Love. Oh man, that's a good song. What do we got on that album?
Bad Boys Get Spanked. Message of Love. I Got to Sleep. Birds of Paradise. Classic. Talk of the Town. We showed the 45 sleeve.
Talk of the Town.
Pack It Up. Waste Not Want. Not Day After Day. Jealous Dogs. English Roses. Louie. What
a great band, man. I
yeah,
just love
right. One of the great bands. And as I was told at Sire Records, the art director John Gillespie, I walked in the office one day. He said, "Spencer, we just signed a group called the Pretenders, and we don't have to pay off the DJs. Just they put the needle on the record, and that's all you need to know." I never forgot that. And okay, next one. Ta-da! Policy of Truth.
Depeche Mode.
Yeah, this is a famous Anton Corbijn photograph, one of my favorites. Let's see here. We got Anton Corbijn, Mute Records, 1990, Policy of Truth. We showed the 45 sleeve at one time on our interview. But this is Anton Corbijn, one of the great color photographers who worked on U2, Octung Baby, and that I worked on in the USA. He's a classic photographer. He's like a painter. I call him a painter.
Vivid colors.
The back is absolutely stark black with some type, very minimal. It's a minimal design, what we call.
Yeah, and
it's super. The front it's like super saturated. If you look, it's just it's so lovely. It's just a lovely photograph.
Isn't that beautiful?
I like the hues and the you can actually see the emotion in her. That's very interesting.
Yeah, it's true.
Provocative and yet somberly analytical at the same time. Depeche Mode, from what I remember, most of their album covers are similar to that. Like it's like always a dark or purple or, minimalist. I mean, Patrick, do you remember a lot of the Depeche Mode? We play a lot of it, that's for sure.
Yeah, this I think is a 12-inch single. And, Depeche Mode were prolific in when they would release an album in the release of singles, remixes, alternate takes, B-sides. So any album project that Depeche Mode would engage in could produce, a dozen variants because they were just such prolific remixers and studio artists. I love Depeche Mode. They're newly inducted into the Rock and Roll Hall of Fame this year.
That's right. Good point. The next album, our favorite, Joseph Arthur. Judith and I did a special package for him. This album, this is interesting. Joseph calls me up and sent me some shots of this cover. And he sent me this photograph, which I thought was astounding. So the first thing I said to him, "What do you think I said, Judith?" I said, "No type on the front." And he listened to me. No type on the front. Yeah. And then the back, you have a very simple type of design, and you open it up. You see his artwork on one side, and then lyrics on the other, which I think is very fantastic. But I love that front cover, and let's give the dues to the photographer, who is Renee Boldark or Boldiark.
Renee
Balduc. Lonely Astronauts Records, his own label, 2013. Joseph Arthur, the artwork. But I love this cover. I really do. I think it's a sepia toned, so it has that old feeling. But I think it's a beautiful cover. Any comments?
It's just that the songs on this they were Joseph Arthur is very prolific. He writes a great deal of poetry, and I believe the songs came from his poetry.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, he was signed by Peter Gabriel, and Lou Reed always came to his shows.
He was discovered by Peter Gabriel originally.
And when Judith and I had a show of his artwork, Michael Stipe always showed up, right, Judith? Remember?
Yeah, he would show. And also when Joseph Arthur performs, I don't know if anybody's ever seen him live, he always puts a blank canvas on stage. You'll see a blank canvas. And at some point, one of his songs, he starts painting on the blank canvas.
Right.
And then, goes back to his, singing and playing the guitar, and then going back to painting on the canvas. And at the end of the show, he sells the painting. I took friends of mine to one of these shows, and they actually purchased the painting, and they have it hanging up in their living room.
Wow. Yeah. So the next one is our favorite, Lou Reed, and Rock and Roll Animal. This is a famous album. Dalrymple did the photograph. RCA 1974. What can we say? It's one of the great albums. The back. I love these photographs.
I'm going to ask you because I don't remember off the top of my head. I remember pulling the album off the wall to play it on the air, but I don't remember the tracks. Is Rock and Roll on it? What's on that album?
I don't have. Let's see here. What am I saying? Okay, let me go. Sweet Jade.
Oh wow! All right.
Heroin.
Yeah.
White Light. White Heat. Lady Day. Rock and Roll. This is a great album.
Oh yeah, for sure.
Yeah. I think this was in his glam rock days.
Yeah, you're right, Judith.
Yeah. Yeah. I mean,
but I like the photograph again, and look where the type is. Great placement of the type. It doesn't intrude on the photograph, right?
I like the Best Buy in the elbow. I mean,
yeah, of course, that's the tattoo. That's the tattoo.
That's great.
But anyway, this is a great album cover. One of the most famous album covers of that.
I told you before, the first time I deviated from a playlist in New York radio was Dirty Boulevard and another Lou Reed song. So that's something that's of all the bands to pick, of all the artists to pick, it was Lou Reed. Because I like Dirty Boulevard. And I always like playing it on the air.
Love that
songs. Yeah.
This album is beautiful. I bought
cool.
this. I saw the artwork. That was it. I didn't care who the group was. I bought the artwork. Now look at this. Now, this is the front cover, and look at the back cover. It's gorgeous. Now, this is the key. Judith, you're going to love this. The illustrator is Chris Billheimer. Now, if you don't remember the REM cover with the little guy on the mountain? And we didn't know that this is the illustrator who did that little 45 sleeve. That's the guy. This is the guy who did the illustration for the REM sleeve we showed on one of the interviews. Remember?
So his name was what? Chris Bidheimer?
Yeah.
Right.
Merge Records, 1998. The name of the group is Neutral Milk Hotel.
Yeah.
And the Aeroplane Over the Sea. That's the title. But it's a knockout cover, I think. Right, Judith? The illustration is gorgeous. And Bill, when I saw the illustrator, Judith, I said, oh my God, that's the guy who did the REM sleeve that we loved, the illustration. We didn't know who did it, right? Or you did. You actually mentioned the name, I think. Now we get the famous Afghan wigs.
Yeah,
on Sub Pop.
They're pretty cool.
Yeah, Jeff Kleinsmith, the art director. Christopher Friedman did the artwork. Sub Pop 2017.
We love our Sub Pop label is a good label. It's fun.
Yeah.
They do great art, that label.
Yeah, and look at the inside. Wow.
Oh gosh, you got a guillotine. Fantastic.
I love the illustration though. The illustration is beautiful inside out. Very good.
All right.
Next one, our famous Tom Yorke, the Eraser.
Ooh, I like that. See, that's
it's very interesting.
Mm-hmm.
Captures you, doesn't it? It pulls you in. It's almost hypnotic.
So this is very simple. Yeah, I love the illustration. Okay, so Tom Yorke, the eraser artwork, Stanley Donwood. Let's see.
Oh, he was a Radiohead artist.
Yeah, 2006 X Recordings. So this is a beautiful album. I like the cover.
That is a linoleum cut piece of art.
Oh,
Lino cut.
wow. All
Very
right,
good.
cool.
There we go.
Anyone can do that.
Yeah,
Right.
except for me.
Next one, Jake Bug on my one. You want to
Oh,
see
I
great
like
art?
that. Yeah,
this
that's
is
really
this is
neat.
great illustration.
Love that is so beautiful.
Yeah. Let's see, artwork, Alexander Mitchell, coloring, Human Adabin, Virgin EMI 2016. This is, get this, look at the inside. This is great. Look at the inside.
Art and color, and it's just so delicious.
It is. Isn't it beautiful?
Yeah.
This is a beautiful piece all the way through. You can see the illustration, how it works. Beautiful cover.
Yeah, I like that. You see over in the put it back up there on the screen because there's something very interesting to me. You see the upper right side, which is upper left to Spencer. It reminds me of the lights you'd see at the ball field. You know?
Yeah.
Right, and then down over right underneath the lights, it looks like a bit of a city that you'll see, and then the various other things. So. This is one of those album covers where every time you look at something, you can see something different or discover something new.
Yeah,
I like that kind of art. Yeah.
Yeah, this is like a painting. It really is. It's an illustration painting.
An unpretentious kind
of art,
I think.
The other ones. Okay, here we go. This is going to be a knockout. Father John Misty, I Love You, Honey Bear, art, Alan Pinor. Sub Pop 2015. Now, let's go through this. Let me go through this.
Oh, wow.
Okay, then we get the back, right? But wait till you get the inside. Listen to this.
There's so much to see, so much to look at.
Yeah, but listen, there's music.
Yeah, like
it's a pop-up
card.
of music. Yeah, it's a pop-up of music.
Gee, I wonder like what the budget was for that.
Yeah, this is Sub Pop. And I believe they gave a good penny for this one with the pop-up.
Oh, had to, right? And plus the musical pop-up as well. You getting a Hallmark card. That's
the
really
illustration is outrageous. I believe this was up for some award. It had to be.
It has to be. Yeah.
Alan Pinero. We got to give him credit. The illustrator is amazing.
Yeah.
Alan Pinero.
Elia Pinner, and then Jeff Kleinsmith is the art director.
The famous Jeff Kleinsmith, right? Our friend. Okay, now we got a classic.
Here we go. This is great.
Vargas did the front cover.
Playboy artist Vargas.
It's called Let's Go. We got Electra 1979.
That's
and
Cars.
Vargas did the front cover with no type on it. I love it.
Vargas did so much for Esquire magazine and Playboy and
very famous.
And did so much for teenage boys and their imagination.
All these pin-up girls. Oh my!
Candio's on that album, right?
Oh my God.
Yep.
No.
Let me see the lineup. Let's Go. Since I Held You, It's All I Could Do. Double Life. That's a beautiful song. It's All I Could Do. Shooby-Doo, Candio, Night Spots, etc., etc.
That's a great album too. When you listen to that album, man, you go through the whole thing. You don't feel like skipping over anything.
I want to add to this particular cover a little extra little bits of fun information. And so the Vargas was actually, believe it or not, this is what I read about this cover. He was 83 years old when he created this cover. And the model that he used, she was, I believe she was an actress that played Lucille Ball's daughter when Lucille Ball had some sort of TV show. So that's just a little trivia there about that beautiful woman.
That's great. Wow.
Exist.
That's interesting. Yeah.
Mm,
Is that, Zach, was that the Cars' second record?
I think so. Yeah.
Because that shows the clout that they had. I mean, the debut album, The Cars, every track on there was a hit, and that they would have a cover like that just for their sophomore album, the clout that the band had, because they were just at the top of the game.
The next album is the Dot Wigan Band. The artist is Jad Fair. By the way, he sent me some covers. They're amazing. Designer Patty Krakow, Alternative Tentacles, 2013. I love the artwork. I really do. Look, this guy is great. But he sent me some covers, and I didn't know which one to pick. But this one, I liked the art. I thought Judith would also like this artwork,
Yeah,
also.
it's
It's
like I could make a pillow from that, and
yeah.
sell that.
You know what I like? It's got the Dayglow colors with the black backing. So it kind of like almost gives you that. I just like the colors. I don't know how you explain it.
Yeah, it is.
It's like I know what you're trying to say. That it has a glow to it.
Right. Exactly. And I like the soft colors. So you got the soft colors, the yellows and the pinks and the light blue, with something strong in the back with the black. See, these are the things. It's strong, but soft.
Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah.
Excellent.
Next word's a classic.
No, we love you, Devo.
So I'll tell you the story with this. It's very interesting. We got artwork, Joe Heiner, Warner's 1978, Are We Not Men? Now, this is what's interesting. The illustration of the guy is actually a very famous golfer at that time. Something Chico Hernandez or something. So that's where they got the picture of the guy. But this is a classic. I mean, it's a classic album cover.
We know where Are We Not Men come from, don't we, guys? It was from The Island of Dr. Moreau by H.G. Wells.
Oh, wow.
Now, this is a great double album, without further ado. Exile on Main Street. Now, this is a double album. I always felt you got more bang for your buck. It's got Ventilator of Blues. It's got Happy on it. A few other tracks that we'll probably try to tell you what the lineup is. You get some shots of the guys hanging around, I guess, in the studio. Mick, the girl. I mean, it's just a great album.
Yeah, we got to give credit here. Let me give credit here first. John Vern Hammarskjöld is the designer, very famous, by the way, and was on Rolling Stone Records 1970 something.
1972.
Yep.
Now we'll talk. I'm thinking Brown Sugar might be on that. I don't remember, but Exile Main Street, because they're all freaks in the cover, man. They've been exiled, so they're in the freak show, and then the other freaks are the Rolling Stones on the back, I suppose. Do you guys remember buying that album? Because
that's what I want to mention about this album. Whenever I get interviewed, I always mention the two albums that are double albums that are no fillers. One is this album and the Beatles' White Album. Those two albums, two albums with no fillers. They're all great songs. That's what's dynamic about this album. All the songs are not fillers. That's a very tough thing to do.
You look at the design of this album. For me, I would not think Rolling Stones. It has a very punk-esque feel to it.
Yeah,
it really does.
The designer, believe it or not, incredible designer. What was Spencer? His name was
John von Hammarskjöld.
Yeah, he actually designed for great bands like Jimi Hendrix, the Beatles, and Jefferson Airplane. Amazing design.
Okay, this is Moby, Extreme Ways. Designer David Calderly just did an amazing T-Rex tribute. V2 Records, 2002. David Calderly is a great designer, and he did a lot. He did Blur, for instance. Zach, Blur. He worked on.
So Spencer, I would turn it to the front cover again.
Yeah.
If it were us, we would not put any type on that cover.
Yeah,
sure. That type on the upper right-hand corner. Get it out of there, because the image so
No, you're
powerful.
right. It lends itself. You hit a good one. Judith brought up a good idea. This would be a type of album that would be just the image alone. That's a very
Yeah,
good idea.
way for when you see their name on the it's like, oh, okay, my eyes are going to the name, but I want to look at the whole the image as a whole. But I
Yeah, because you're going to flip it over anyway, Judith. So that
right,
whatever,
exactly. Right.
Yeah, but I would if on the backside, I would have stood the other way. So the flip over, because he's standing front and both front and back.
Yeah.
On the backside, I would have Moby turn the other way, so he's facing away.
Oh,
The backside.
that's interesting.
He's not doing that, is he? Or he's
No, he's not.
No, he's not. That's a good idea.
Right.
That's a good idea.
Very
Yeah.
good. See, you're getting there.
You're getting there.
I'm getting there. I
So
can't
the
wait
next-
till we get to my favorite album that's coming up.
Okay, Steve Miller Band. Okay, Children of the Future. Artwork. The famous Victor Moscoso I had an honor to meet in my life. 1968 Capitol. Okay. Front, back, and the big one.
Southwest.
Look at the inner sleeve. Look at this
That-
inner fold.
That's the art. That inner sleeve.
I mean, come on. This guy is a very famous rock poster artist, if nobody knows. Same throws as Peter Max, the quality line in this early days of album cover of rock posters.
So these were the days where, the record company says, we got to have the band on the cover. We got to have a picture of the band on the cover.
But look what he did with the band picture, Judith. He really did color with it.
I know. He did the best he could, but, had it been not those days, I think the inside art should have been the front cover.
Well,
Yes.
what it says to me is somebody went to Knott's Berry Farms and they were inspired by the Western photos that you could take with you and your friends.
Except you have to look at this really closely because the artist is this psychedelic artist. It's hard to see and the colors on the screen now, but it's quite the Moscone was a famous.
What I find interesting, Judith, is something that you might have done at one point. It's almost hieroglyphics on the bottom in the red with that gold.
Yeah.
And those could all be different symbols, or they could, be different. It could say something.
An alien alphabet.
Yeah, exactly.
This is like dropping acid, Judith. Come on, let's get the real story here. This is like dropping acid, Zach. It's dropping acid, and this is what it is. Okay, I got to tell you, there's no intellectual thing about this. This is what it is. And by the way, the colors, what Judith's talking about, is very vibrant that I have. This is like when I got rock posters when I was in college, this would be the color intensity. You would get these silk screen rock posters, or like Sopwith Camel or the Jefferson Airplane or Steve Miller Band, and they'd have heavy color, almost like Dayglow on a silk screen.
The heavy color enhances your ongoing LSD trip.
I mean, Victor Moscoso was an acid head like Max. So, I mean, this is like what it is.
And like everybody else in those days.
Right, everybody else. Now, this is Zach's favorite. I know this.
Oh, I love this album. A concept album from the Floyd to these
Beautiful.
pink animals.
I love that too.
The building is the Battersea Power Station. And the concept of the album is George Orwell's Animal Farm. How about that?
Oh,
And then my favorite track is Pigs. So you have the sheep, they're still around. You have the dogs, they're still on this planet, and then you have the pigs, 3 different ones.
Now we got to give some design credit here. There's a number of people: Roger Waters, there's Aubrey Powell, and Storm Thurgeson, and the pig. Wait a minute. The pig is actually made by ERG, and let's see, the album was done in 1977. Anyway, that's the story. Let's see, front and back.
Yeah,
it's like a wraparound. I mean, Storm Thorgerson, I spoke to once, and he told me they originally wanted to have a real pig, and they hoisted it up, and it went splat. It dropped and went splat. And so they had to do this thing with a photo image. But I mean, Storm always told me these great stories. And of course, Hypnosis, the famous album cover company, designed this. But yeah, I mean, the factory, the whole thing, it's a beautiful image, right? Beautiful
And
image.
I did get to interview Storm as well, but when I did it, and he had a book out at the time that displayed all of his art. I don't know what I did with it. Unfortunately, I was probably not as educated as I was compared to now. This is about 15 years ago when I got to interview him. So I was like, all right, nobody else was going. So I'm like, I'll do it. Thanks for bringing that one up. That's
yes.
one of my favorites.
I knew you'd like this. I like it too. And Judith likes it. I'm sure Patrick likes it. This is like a classic.
It's like fine art.
Oh man. Fine art means fine music.
And fine.
So the last album I'm going to show, artist named John Petrucci, independent album, limited run. Sean Masha Smith, designer of Echo Lab, and this is like, let's see, 2000. This year, photo by Larry Demanzia, and now I'll show the album. This is really beautiful.
Oh wow!
And if you see the
metallic.
spot lamb, Judith spot lamb matte finish on a lot of these pieces.
That up, but I could, sort of can see that.
And wait a minute, you open it up. It's really beautiful. You've got the artist on the right, image, artwork, graphics on the left, and Sean did the graphics and design. He's amazing, and he did the Korn CD package that we loved on the last interview. The Korn package.
So
great designer.
On your right, our left, is there a CD there, or what is the clock? All right, I see.
Well, no, you got two vinyls in each side, and this is interesting. Now this is a sleeve. Yeah, this is a sleeve. Look at the inner sleeve.
Yeah.
Oh.
Yeah. He carries the whole design through. I mean, Sean is a great designer. I mean, he just did this, right? And so I said, I got to get it for this interview.
It's got a Marvel feel to it, right? And then you have it looks like a crash test dummy, whatever you want to call it. And it's exploding on one side. And then you got the time travel element and the guitar.
Look at this. Look at this one. Look at the inner sleeve, Zach.
That's awesome.
On this one.
Yeah. Far out. That's groovy, man.
So the thing about it is, talk about money. This is a small quantity done by an independent musician. And so we're talking about money here to produce this thing.
And if you don't mind, we don't usually do this. If you have the vinyl, just take the vinyl out and just put it up to the camera to see it, so we can see the quality. Because, if the guy's going to spend all this kind of, oh wow, look at that. If the guy's going to spend all this kind of money, or is it silver?
It's gray. It's actually gray. It's like a gray. It carries over the feeling of it. You know what I mean? It just really, and look at the label art. The label art is really great.
So when you and Judith are judging for these vinyl shows and maybe Grammy packages and stuff like that, at one point, do you pull the vinyl out to see how it?
You have to. I think I mentioned this before. Judging includes everything. If it's a CD, it's a CD with the booklet and whatever the book, and then with vinyl, the same thing. The disc is part of it, as well as the inner sleeve and the pack and the board package, whatever printed. So it's all the parts are always judged together, and if it's all continuity line, like this is beautiful continuity line, it deserves something, it really does.
It really does. Yeah, it's fantastic. I like the picture of the artist and how he has the guitar and he's part of the album cover design itself. That's very interesting.
It's a great photograph, and let's see if I can get this together here. The picture, we should show this, what you're mentioning. The picture of the artist is also graphically put together. So Sean and the photograph works together.
Yeah, I see it, and I want to interview the guy now, because of the album design.
John was... Yeah, so John Petrucci was the guitar player in Dream Theater.
Yeah, they always had interesting designs.
Yeah, and so given how incredible this design is and the talk of budgets and stuff, I'm not surprised too that this type of budget and creativity would be thrown against something of John's caliber. The guitar he's holding in that photo is the John Petrucci signature guitar from Ernie Bull Music Man, which I think the basic model costs you upwards of $3,000.
So he's doing some marketing with that.
Yeah, and I want to say also before we leave that this will be a 10 interview series that'll be on YouTube that actually Patrick's putting together so that when you see interview 1, you can go into interview 2, interview 3, and so on and so forth up to interview 10. So you can see it at the whole series. That's very important. And it'll be up soon. So we hope you enjoyed this 10 interview series on the subject matter that we were talking about. And I want to thank Zach Martin, and I want to thank Patrick, and of course my partner Judith, and I want to thank myself on top of it.
Absolutely.
And we have so much more left to go and do. And
Yeah, so we're hoping to do some more interview series with Zach and Patrick, and of course Judith and I. And I just want to say that I hope the people that are watching this enjoy and learn a lot. It's like a learning tool and referencing, also with great stories. And we hope we brought enjoyment to you on watching it, and I hope you getting some good information in the music culture.
Well, thank you, Spencer Drate, for being open to the idea as well as you, Judith. I know that these things aren't always easy, and we try to have some fun, you know, and hopefully we've done that. All right, guys. Well, thank you very much. Designing for Music. What a great series, and we're glad to host it here on NEWHD.
Thank you, Zach and
Thanks a lot, man.